weapon of war. By now, you all should have heard that term. It's been around for a while, and it's designed to do two things. One, to continue to frighten those who are ignorant about firearms. Two, to divide the gun-owning community. Everyone knows how devastating war is in general. People die. Dead is final. However people die, whether it's from swords or machetes or pistols or rifles or cruise missiles or any of those things, it's just more people die at one time. In the modern context of weapon of war, it is focused solely on the firearm. And the goal says a person, an individual, unless they are a soldier or a policeman, should not have a weapon of war. And that is a weapon that makes it easier to kill another person. Now, if you go back and look at the history of firearms in general, all firearms started with the intent and the goal of helping the holders fight battles better. And then when the battles were over, the people who were fighting them got to keep them, and those that didn't fight got to have some as well. And we ended up with proliferation of firearms in the hands of civilians. In the United States, at our birth, the importance of having arms, period, was so important that the prohibition against government for taking them away from us was ingrained in our Constitution. Today, there is no clear line that defines what would be a weapon of war in the hands of an American citizen. And why is that? Because every weapon you would have would be classified as a weapon of war, something you could use in a battle that someone else doesn't have, including shotguns, lever action rifles. The exception would be, and this is where a lot of anti-gun people go, to relegate everyone back to black powder and muskets and musket pistols. That is so silly. Obviously it's not going to happen, because if it did get back to that, then those would get banned as well. So the assault weapons ban, and there is no such thing as an assault weapon. Not any country has an assault weapon in their inventory. I think the United States has something called an assault weapon, but it's not a fire, it's not a pistol that we would think of, or a rifle we would think of. So it's a made-up term, because the word assault, war, weapon, you put those together and it creates mind pictures that are unpleasant for people to think of. The rifles used in World War I were, they had the ability, they were bolt action, but what they did is they had the ability to feed bullets faster than a musket. And once that whole feed bullets faster than a musket genie was out of the bottle, it just became, how fast can you make the firearm or the rifle do that? Now, all of us grew up, well, not all of us, but a lot of us grew up watching the Westerns and the Rifleman and the old lever action rifle that they used to have, the Winchester and all that. That ability to automatically, quickly cycle another round was one of the defining moments in ending the Civil War, because the North had those and the South did not, and at least not enough of them. And the tide turned on the battlefield as a result of those kind of rifles, the lever action or repeating rifle, that is the ability to repeat feeding a round into the rifle. And it won the West, according to whoever you want to talk to. It was so devastating that when Native Americans got their hands on them, it changed the flow of battle in their favor, or at least it became an equal fight. And so it was desperate to keep those kind of weapons away from Native American tribes back then. Once the repeating rifle, then you had bolt action, and so the drive became how can we make it feed those things faster? And as the technology of feeding the rounds grew, the rifles and pistols used replaced the ones before them, and that's just the way it is. So think logically for a minute. If I take the current rifle, which is the Armalite rifle Model 15, or known as the AR-15, the evil black gun, and all of its variants, if you take that rifle, it is the equivalent today of the M1 Garand, which was used in World War II. It automatically fed clips, and the rounds went fast, and it was one pull of the trigger and all of that. So if you pick any modern rifle or modern handgun, this is a modern handgun, has a magazine designed to feed the rounds easier and faster. If you pick any one of those and you then say, or call it a weapon of war, and then ban it or just define it as something that people shouldn't have, you logically must revert back. What's the next one? Well, we're going to ban those, but not these. And that's where it starts dividing gun owners, because those are the ones that hunt and they compete and so forth. But don't forget that in World War I, the single weapon that the Germans tried to have banned, was the shotgun. The shotgun was the most devastating trench warfare weapon, period, and it terrified the Germans. Today, Joe Biden believes the shotgun is cool. But imagine if you then come back and you continue to revert back and you say, the shotgun was the most devastating weapon and still is in close quarters, and it should be banned. If you can do that, if you can retrograde your logic that far, the goal becomes very clear. The goal becomes the same thing that the UN is trying to do with the Small Arms Treaty and the standards, and that is to remove all firearms from the hands of civilians. That is the end game. It's just a matter of semantics. Today, anything can be declared a weapon of war. Today, it's the modern rifle, which in our case is the AR-15. They can't do pistols, there's too many of them, but if you can do rifles, that's low-hanging fruit. You can then come down to any semi-automatic firearm. Now that's what California has just done, and Massachusetts is getting close. They, for all intents and purposes, banned all semi-automatic rifles. So when there's a conversation about who needs a weapon of war, understand that any pistol, whether it's a revolver or automatically fed, anything that makes it easier to feed a round into the chamber and pull the trigger, has been used in every war and therefore is a weapon of war, and by that definition should be banned. obviously, that's not going to happen in America. What that means to you, if you're a gun owner, is you cannot get into an argument over my guns are less lethal than your guns. I need my gun, you don't need yours. If it sends a round downrange, whether it's pellets or bullets, by the anti-gun logic, it is a weapon of war. And you should fight any conversation that says weapons of war should be banned from civilians. See how the logic works? So I could talk more on this, but just understand that term, weapon of war, is intended to say my guns I need, you don't need yours. When the fact is, all firearms are weapons of war. Therefore, the goal is to ban all firearms. They come from mine today, they'll come from yours tomorrow. And that's how it'll go. So, put your comments down below if you have any. I'd welcome those thoughts. And as always, thanks for watching. Carry on.